is the question of the day on Live from the Pulpit.
Is hell real? One recent poll found that 53% of Americans believe in hell. That's actually down nearly 20% over the last decade. Still, over half of Americans believe in hell. Interestingly, of those 1,218 Americans polled, only 1.5% believed they were going there. So a majority of Americans believe in hell, and almost no one believes that they're going to go there. Now, just because a majority of people believe something is true does not make it so. The veracity of something is determined by its correspondence to reality. In other words, truth is that which corresponds to reality. Now, since hell belongs to the spiritual realm, we need someone from the spiritual realm to come and communicate to us as to whether or not hell is real. And fortunately, we have one who is from the spiritual realm who can testify as to the veracity of hell. Before I get to him, doesn't our own experience in this universe demand punishment for evil deeds? When an Adolf Hitler or a Joseph Stalin or a Chairman Mao murder millions of people in cold blood, when someone opens fire in an elementary school or a movie theater, when a person extorts or cheats you or me out of money or goods, we cry for justice. It's almost as if there's something that we cannot not know. Hat tip, J. Buszajewski. But if justice is not done in this life, there is within us this moral principle that those wrongs ought to be punished. They ought to be. It is Jesus who steps onto the grand stage of human history and explains that wrongdoings it's not only that they ought to be punished, they will be punished. No one in the Bible talked about hell more than Jesus. 11 of the 12 times that the word hell appears, Gehenna in the Greek, it's found on the lips of the Lord. And since Jesus is the Son of God who has all religious authority, according to Matthew 28 and verse 18, we must pay attention to his sobering remarks concerning the final fate of those who refuse to obey him. Let me give you just a couple of verses here. This from Mark chapter 9, verses 43 through 49. If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. It's better for you to enter into life maimed rather than having two hands and go into hell, that's your Greek word Gehenna, into the fire that shall never be quenched, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. If your foot causes you to sin, cut it off. It's better for you to enter life lame rather than having 2 feet to be cast into hell, into the fire that shall never be quenched, where their worm does not die and their fire is not quenched. And if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. It is better for you to enter the kingdom of God with one eye rather than with 2 eyes to be cast into hellfire. Now, 2 words there, hellfire, communicate the one word Gehenna, where their worm does not die and their fire is not quenched. 3 times in the span of 7 verses, Jesus mentions Gehenna, hell. And while that word is rich in figurative meaning, what I want us to see from this text is that Jesus assumes the existence of a future punishment for the wicked in hell. He takes for granted that people expected this final justice. Indeed, he confirms that hell is very real. Now, the other New Testament writers who reference the final fate of the wicked follow suit. Paul speaks of the punishment of eternal destruction in 2 Thessalonians 1, verse 9. Peter, speaking to a Greek audience, calls hell Tartarus in 2 Peter 2 and verse 4. Jude, the half-brother of Jesus, talks about a punishment of eternal fire in Jude verse 7. Perhaps it is the Apostle John, though, who gives one of the most frightening descriptions of hell in the book of Revelation. Revelation 20, verse 10, he says, "The devil who had deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet were, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever." A few verses later, in verses 14 and 15, still in Revelation chapter 20, he talks about how death and Hades, they're thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death, the lake of fire. And if anyone's name was not found in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire. All of these passages indicate that hell is very real. And the tragic truth is that many people who do not think they will end up there will. My friend, if you are listening to this, please be sure that your name is in the book of life by turning to Jesus and obeying him concerning how to be saved. I'm out of time. Feel free to leave a comment on the website. I always like to hear what you have to say. Stop by the Life from the Pulpit blog, lifefromthepulpit.wordpress.com, or the Live from the Pulpit podcast, livefromthepulpit.wordpress.com. Check out Merced Church of Christ website, mercedchurchofchrist.org, mercedchurchofchrist.org, other resources to help you in your daily walk. And as always, brethren, grace be with you all. Thanks for listening.